life is there for you to observe if you're paying attention. If you just pay attention, you'll see more of what you want and need to see. It's like the yellow car thing. If you start thinking about yellow cars, you'll start seeing them more. If you start thinking about the color purple, you'll start seeing it more. Yeah. It's not that the thing suddenly appeared before you out of nowhere. It was always there.
Yeah.
You just weren't attuned to it.
Yeah.
In the same way.
Yeah.
So if you start thinking about getting more opportunities, you start thinking there's more things out there, you'll start seeing them because you're open to it.
Hello and welcome to Project Torchlight, a podcast where we explore the power and impact of art and creativity through the lens of people's stories. Today's episode is a continuation of the previous episode with the lovely Camille, a poet and podcaster, but this time we have another very special guest joining us, who you will meet in just a moment. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, to continue this podcast, I'm inviting into this conversation Manu, very, very special guest. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me. Hello, hello.
Hello. Please, could you introduce yourself and tell the listeners a bit more about yourself too and what you do?
I always hate that question about introducing yourself, because I feel like it depends on who's listening, what you want to say. When aunties and uncles are like, what do you do? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not a doctor or solicitor, am I? I am an artist. I am currently a student studying music production and vocal performance after quitting my jobs that I've just had throughout my 20s, just, trying to make a living. And I'm like, this isn't actually what I want to do. Because I had a lot of fear in the way of actually pursuing my dreams. Fear and other, just accessibility issues and whatnot. But yeah, so now I'm pursuing my passion and studying music. And that's it.
That's amazing. And thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, I'm just really excited for this conversation going forward as well with both of you. I think fear is something that's really interesting to talk about as well, because I think it's something that a lot of creatives face, and there are many faces of fear as well, I think. And I'd kind of like to pose a question to both of you. What is your relationship with fear, and how do you think it impacts you creatively?
My relationship with fear is quite all-encompassing. It's a big part of my life. I have OCD, I have anxiety, so fear is something that's always on my mind. It's always a feeling that affects me. So my relationship with fear has always been about management and adaptability. I have had to be very creative when it comes to managing fear, because I am very aware that for me, I am hardwired mentally to be afraid a lot of the time. I'm one of the bravest people I know because I'm one of the most fearful people I know. And I think that's something that every creative has to learn, is that the fear will be there, but what do you do with it? Do you use it to hold you back, or do you use it as fuel? And that's something that is a conscious decision I personally have to make, and I think every creative has to make every day. Are you going to use the fear to your advantage, or are you going to let it hold you back?
But how did you get to that mindset of resilience to be able to, whenever you're faced with fear, orient yourself and just be like, no, I'm going to use it as fuel?
Stubbornness. I'm very determined to live a good life. And I think I have various different fears, and I think sometimes you have to pick the most poignant one. I'm more afraid of staying the same. I'm more afraid of not getting what I want out of life than I am afraid of other people's opinions or afraid of failing. In many ways, my fear has been useful to me in certain degrees, because fear exists to protect you.
Yeah, so, that's true. It is something that's so innate.
Exactly.
Like fight or flight.
Yeah. So when you become quite acquainted with it, again, kind of like we said about the wall and the wound, examining it, looking at it, what's it trying to do? Most of the time, the fear is trying to protect you from a perceived danger. It might be a real danger, it might be a fake danger. And you kind of have to analyze whether or not it's useful.
Yeah.
And use it to your advantage if you can, because it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
So you might as well utilize it.
Like work with it.
Yeah,
almost.
rather than let it work against you.
Yeah. And I think that's such an important point. Like you said, it's always going to be there. And I guess, it takes courage to move forward with it. But if it's always going to be there, then you have a choice whether, like, with regards to how it will affect you. But I think fear holding people back is a huge thing, and it's definitely something that I've experienced too. And you Manu mentioned that it was something that kind of prevented you from pursuing your passion sooner. Can you talk more about how you got to the stage to decide, actually, I'm just gonna go for this?
Sure. I mean, I definitely resonate with what Camille's saying, that fear is you can't be courageous without being fearful.
Yeah.
Bravery, like if someone was doing something without being scared, they'd just be doing it, right? Like, it's not a brave thing. And I think that's when I think, like, throughout my life, when I was just doing everything I did, I've done a lot of things that in other people's eyes are seen as quite courageous. And to me, some of the things aren't. One thing I've learned about myself is that I'm a lot more resilient than I thought. And I think that's on an objective level. And that kind of made me realize that fear really is a subjective thing. There's like we were saying, there's a difference between fear and danger. And I think that's what made me realize that fear can be something that you can unlearn. Because realistically, you're not in danger, like I'm scared of what? Like failing, but it's not gonna cause me a danger. Maybe it might, that I won't be making money, but I'll make money another way. So yeah, I think I actually remember the exact moment I realized I really wanted to let go of all of my avoidance.
Can you tell us more about that? And I think it's really interesting what you mentioned about the unlearning aspect of it too. So.
Yeah, you definitely have to unlearn it. Because the moment I realized, I think it was just understanding my privilege with where I was, that I as everyone does, spend time on social media, and seeing a lot of, I feel like recently there's just been so much bad news that's always platformed, and not enough good things. So it's really hard to appreciate all the good things that are going on in the world. And I think I realized that I have a lot of good things in my life, and a lot of privileges that could allow me to actually chase my dreams. And there's a lot of people who aren't able to do that. So it just kind of feels like a waste if I didn't. Not a waste, because actually, a waste. Because again, some people want simple things, and I want very ambitious things. But I guess I'm within my right to try, right? And I think one thing about self-love is that you have to believe you have the right to try.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah, so at some point I was just like, I had a lot of imposter syndrome, that I was like, oh, actually, I don't think I'm able to do it. But it was the whole look, there are people who aren't even able to try. So
that's so true.
Just do it.
Yeah, it is true. It is a privileged position to be in, to chase your dreams.
Yeah.
But it also, like you said, it takes guts and courage and a belief in yourself that, that can get you to that stage of being like, yeah, I'm going to try. I have a niece, and I have a few nieces, but this one of my nieces, I'll never forget, said to me, because she has these dreams of what she wants to be: professional golfer, lawyer, actress,
so
all of these different things. Very, very ambitious young lady. She's in her teens at the moment. And she said to me, with regards to being an actress, in terms of the odds, she was like, obviously, it's competitive, but she kind of comes at it from the approach of like, everyone's like, why would it be me type thing? But she's like, why wouldn't it be me? Like, why not me? And I think when you come at it from that perspective, it's like, yeah, the odds might be slim, but people make it. People do get to do those things. So if you never tried, then you're disqualifying yourself before you even start. And I think that disqualification, like when it's you disqualifying yourself from a potential blessing, that's also scary, because you don't know what could have happened if you'd tried.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, what I was talking about, unlearning the kind of fear that I know. Because if you're fearful of failing, I think it's really nice to turn it into, I'm really fearful of preventing my own success. Yeah. And like, thinking that I was more scared of the idea of letting myself down than somebody else saying, oh, sorry, we don't actually like the music you make, or sorry, you're not going to get this job. I would rather somebody else piss me off than me piss myself off. So I got to that point where I was like, I have a lot of people in my life who tried to convince me that this dream isn't possible. Why am I going to be one of those people?
Yeah.
Why am I going to do that?
Why join the chorus?
Yeah, seriously. Like, I might as well be on my own side.
Yeah.
And because if I'm not on my own side, then why should I expect other people to be?
That's true. That's very, very true. Very, very true. Yeah. No, I definitely think, like you mentioned, that unlearning piece is so important, because, yeah, it takes a level of self-awareness as well. And that also takes time to develop too.
And experience. It's self-awareness and experience. Because again, I think, I don't know about you guys, but I think fear is something that, is learned, and the only way to learn is experience.
Yeah.
Someone has to have told you something, and that's an experience. And I think it's the same way with like vulnerability and, feeling vulnerable, is that like, I think it's subjective. I think that, yes, there are lots of things that a lot of people find themselves feeling fearful and vulnerable, but I think there are some things that some people just don't. And that's when you realize that actually there is a way I can get there, and it is through exposure. It is through being in the right circles. It's through being with people who have the mindset that actually there's nothing wrong with this, or there's nothing to be fearful of. So I think that's how you can unlearn all of these things.
By being around people that can encourage you too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And because I think Camille's been the biggest encouragement for me. Truly, truly has. I think one thing that Camille says to me a lot, and no one says it to me, is that like when I get imposter syndrome, or I feel like I'm not going to be able to get this job, or why would they take me on, or like maybe I should go back to applying for like normal jobs. And Camille's like, you have to see the industry that you want to go in as just another industry. Realistically, there's nothing special about it. The only difference is the kind of job requires like exposure and stuff, but you're still applying. It's still the same stuff. And like, I think a lot of people, out of, again, fear, something you're scared of is a lot of like the unknown. So if you put the music industry and a lot of things that feel very elite into like an unknown thing, it makes it seem like it's hard to access.
Yeah.
But actually, I think it's easy to access. You just have to put yourself there.
Yeah.
And like now that I'm in the university that I am in, I find everyone there has the exact same mindset that Camille was saying, that you need to see it as that you're already in the industry. You are, because you've made connections now. And it's not a far away thing. There's no reason why you can't also be in these things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's sometimes really helpful as well, is to take the illusion off of it. It's still a career in the arts, is still a career. If you work for a record label, or if you work for a production company, there's still an A&R department, there's still HR. It's still just a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So if you demystify it as this scary, elite, magical realm that only special people can be a part of, you're going to be very disappointed when you get there and realize, oh, it's just a job. Yes, it can be a job that's incredibly fulfilling, that has been a dream forever. But the reality of it is that it is just a job at the end of the day, and that that's a good thing. That's a good mindset to have, because it makes it more attainable. It means that you can do things like tailoring your CV towards getting a job in the department you want.
Yeah.
It means, what do you do to get a job, for example, in IT? You get the experience, you get the education.
You learn skills.
You learn skills. The same thing with acting, with singing, with any kind of creative art. It's not just about talent. I think that's another thing that holds people back, is that there's such a mystique around the arts that people, and I do think it's intentional. I think that it helps keep the industry alive. If there's a certain Wizard of Oz kind of vibe to it, that everything's behind the curtain.
Yeah.
You have to follow the yellow brick road.
You have to follow the yellow brick road. There's just magic everywhere. The people who have access aren't normal people. They're amazing. They're not.
Yeah.
They're just normal people. Like, definitely people have talents, but how do people get talent?
Yeah.
Training, practice, consistency. Everybody is capable of doing that. And that tends to be something that is obviously very unfair about life in general, is that not everybody gets the same access. And I think it's very unfair that, it's the myth of meritocracy, that the people who are in the positions they're in is because they worked hard for it, not because they were given access that other people don't have. But I think, if you demystify it and see it as something that you can actually tangibly work towards, you can develop skills that can point you in the direction of your dream, can make you more desirable to an employer, because that's all there is. When you go for an audition, it's a job interview. For example, to use your niece as an example, she goes to an acting gig. It's an audition. It's a job interview at the end of the day. And if you have the correct skills, God willing,
they'll hire you.
Yeah. And they'll recognize your potential.
Exactly.
But like you said, I guess it's experience. You have to train. You have to refine your craft, just like with anything else.
I think the same goes back to bring it back to a mental health thing. I think it works the same way. I think therapy and people who are quite like calm, composed, people who are like have worked on themselves and look like they really love themselves, that also feels like a mystical, magical, like, oh, I wonder what they've done. Like, they must have read all of these self-help books and must have done all of this. And it seems so unattainable for people who just don't love themselves. And I think, again, it's one of those things that you need to put yourself around people who show you that you can also get to that. Yeah. It's a lot more formulaic and simple than it looks.
Yeah.
Than it looks. That's like something, because I think a lot of people think they are the way they are just because. Yeah. And like fear, like vulnerability, behavior comes in, and behavior you can unlearn.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, you can unravel the patterns.
Yeah.
I think that's, in terms of unlearning, that's really valuable when it comes to fear. Because when I think of, to look at it from an extreme standpoint, when it comes to recovery or things like CBT for something like OCD or something like generalized anxiety, it is a lot about unlearning where your brain naturally goes. Yeah. It's like, okay, I'm afraid. It's rerouting, almost. Exactly. And I think if your compass points north or points south more often than it should, you can work to reorient it, which is through a lot of self-talk, surrounding yourself with people who show you that your fears aren't necessarily valid. And if you can't do that, stay inspired, follow people online. Like, that's the best thing about the internet and the access that we all do have now, is that you can access people's lived experiences, and that can be your community, that can be your village of people where you see it's possible. For example, we have people like Quinta Brunson, or people who started out in jobs that we don't always see the steps that people take. We tend to just see the summit. We tend to see them at their peak. We don't see all the steps they took to get there. But for example, Quinta's like a perfect example. A lot of us watched her online as kids on BuzzFeed. And when she was just working as like a writer or a content creator for BuzzFeed, we saw her take a step away from BuzzFeed and do different things, do short form videos. And, now she's winning Emmys. And it's been so valuable, the exposure that people have allowed us to have into their lives, especially creative people, where we're now able to see the steps instead of just the glitz and glamour at the end of it. we actually get to see the rest of the iceberg, not
Yeah.
just the tip. And I think that's really useful.
Yeah,
It's very discouraged in our culture.
it is.
think.
And
Yeah.
to be honest, although there are stories of people who show you all the steps, for every one of those, there is so many where you do just see kind of a curated version of people's lives.
Yeah.
And you do just see the end product. Like, social media is great for accessing lived experiences, but equally, sometimes it's quite hard to differentiate from the lived experiences and that journey versus somebody just showing the end product.
Yeah.
And that can be quite a difficult thing, because I think naturally it's natural to compare yourself, and I think to not compare yourself to others takes intention. I wonder if that's something that either of you have faced as artists, comparing yourself to others, and how have you managed that?
I guess I used to compare myself to other people. In term, but it's not a comparison that's like, I'm gonna compare my skills to this person. It's more, it's, if anything, I just look up to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have people that I'm like, oh, I really want to get to that level. Not in a way that like shoots myself down, but more in like a motivational way. Because it's nice. And I think, what got me out of that, is that understanding that there's only one me, and we're all gonna have that journey. I don't really know what else to say, because I feel like that's the thing that everyone says to get rid of that competitiveness, is that, oh, there's only one you, so like, you know, you might as well do your own thing. I don't know. What do you think, Camille?
I think comparison for me is usually around access. When I see other people in fields that I would like to be in, that maybe they got a head start, or they were in a family that facilitated them being able to hone their skills or get a better education in their art form. That's when the comparison creeps in of, you know, what if I had just been able to go to art school at 4 years old, and like, what would we all be able to achieve if we were invested in the same way? And obviously, realistically, we aren't able to all be invested in the same way by our parents, whether that's because of genuine inaccess and inability monetarily, or just because your parents don't believe in your dream, or they don't take it seriously. Or, for example, like our parents from a generation that the arts doesn't seem like a valuable or achievable goal to have. They don't see it as a job. They see it as entertainment, and they're kind of in that cloud of mystique that it's actually not a viable job that somebody can live on. And I think what helps with that comparison, one is a certain sense of acceptance, because I think it's unfair to expect yourself to be okay with it, because there are certain aspects of life that are unfair. And I think it's okay to be real about that and to grieve it. Yes, it would have been great if we could all have gone to performing arts school at 2 years old and like been piano prodigies at a certain age. But I think once you've accepted it, once you've let yourself kind of feel sorry for yourself for a little bit, like, yeah, this is unfair and this does suck and I don't like it. What can you do now with what you have? You know, God willing, you're in a job and you can afford somewhat of a livable life. You can teach yourself the skills you weren't able to be taught as a child. You can do lessons. You can attend classes. There's so many free creative classes now as well, because creative people love sharing their art. They love giving back, because we've all been in that position where, oh no, we're the only one that wants to do this in our neighborhood or in our family. And
well, the entire neighborhood is thinking that.
the entire neighborhood is thinking, if only... there is so many more avenues to your dream than just getting a leg up.
Yeah.
And I think it's about being creative. Be creative in its fullest form. You want to achieve something, get creative about how you can get there. Get creative about how you can learn the skill. I was talking to an 8-year-old recently who taught herself crochet through YouTube videos.
Oh, wow.
And she is so good. She's so good at it. I was really happy that her mum set up a little table so that we could buy some of her like little crochet hats and hairbands and things like that. But it's that creativity and tenacity. She wanted to learn a skill, so she taught herself. She watched YouTube videos because, again, there's a plethora of creatives who are out there sharing how they got to where they got to. And all you need is time and consistency. And you can get there too. I love seeing late bloomers thrive. There's so many women online, for example, who are doing like adult ballet classes. Ballet is probably the best analogy for that kind of elite creative space that people feel is inaccessible unless you were able to do it as a child.
Yeah.
But there's so many people that are proving that's not necessarily the case. It's a skill. Again, it's just a skill that can be learnt, that can be taught. And you need to view your art and your creativity in the same way that it's not too late, because when is it ever too late to learn something?
I love that. And it's, I totally agree, because like you said, it's a skill, and I think it is driven by that curiosity, but also kind of getting to a stage where you're like, no, like life's too short. If I want to try this thing, then like, if not now, when type thing.
Again, that's acceptance, right?
And it's acceptance.
I think the big thing to mention here is that acceptance also comes with one, accepting your unfair situation, and accepting that you have a narrative about your life. This is something that me and Camille spoke about recently, is that I don't think anyone can change their life until they accept the narrative that they're trying to maintain. Because you can accept that you're in an unfair situation. I did. I was thinking that, my parents couldn't have cared less about my passion for music. But that still didn't stop my narrative to think, okay, well, eventually I'm just going to chill, and then I'm just going to someone's going to bump into me and offer me a job, and I'm not going to put in that work. Or I wanted to, but I was too afraid. I think if you change the narrative, and actually not even change it, just get rid of it. The only real narrative, the only one that is truthful, is right now in reality what's going on. Yeah. And if you say to yourself, I don't know people, I don't know anyone, which is what I did. I heard a really, really great, it's not a quote, it's just what some leader of an internship said. Funnily, the same one that me and Camille did together.
Oh,
which is where we met.
Nice.
Yeah. And it stuck with me forever. It's something I don't think about quotes because my brain is just full of other random things, but this is something that always sticks. And Bob said,
Bob, I love that.
Yeah, good old Bob. I remember we were having a talk about, not knowing people in the industry. And I said my biggest annoyance is that I'm very aware that the media industry, the music industry is always not what you know, it's who you know. Mm-hmm. And he immediately countered me with it's not about, it's not about. He said, well, if you don't know, get to know.
Yeah.
And I just kind of was sat there floored, like, how? And the same thing with I guess it can apply to anything, whether it's job applying or whether it's like friends or just again mental health. Like if you sit there thinking, okay, well, I don't know anyone, brother, we have the internet. Yeah. Google is free. Do you know what I mean? Google is free. You maybe need to pay for Wi-Fi, but if you don't want to pay for Wi-Fi, go outside.
Library.
Go to a library. Go talk to people. Yeah. And it made me change my entire approach of the narrative that I'm telling myself I can't access these spaces. Why? And then when I realized that actually I'm just going to get to know. So I went on LinkedIn and I started researching random companies that I wanted to work for. Yeah. Because again, I always complained to my family saying, oh, you can't apply for these kind of jobs because, for example, music doesn't really have internships. There's no place for music. I mean, maybe there's studios, but they're really dying now. Everyone's bedroom producers. You don't get internships. There's no ladder up. You learn the skills and then you release something and then people either like it or they don't. So if you don't have the skills, you have to figure it out on your own. Yeah. You just do. And for me, I was like, okay, well, let me just Google the companies that I want to work for. And then I started like looking into like Googling music videos that I liked or like music. And I started Googling who's the producers, who's the guitarist, who's this, who's that. And then I just messaged them on LinkedIn and I
That's
DM'd them
amazing.
on Instagram. And even you thinking that, oh my God, that's crazy. It shouldn't be.
Yeah,
You know
no,
what I
it's
mean?
true
It's a
because
job.
all of this information is accessible. Even if
Everything's
the spaces seem like, well, even if the spaces aren't, information is.
And we're taught to think that it's not. We're
Yeah.
really taught to think of it. I had an assignment recently to write a case study on my favorite artists. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to talk to them. But you know what I did? I Googled their manager. and I'm on a Discord fan chat. And I got in contact with their manager. I was like, and I emailed them too. I was like, is anyone able to like give me like information or like do a little interview with me? I'm just collecting data. I'm a student. And the label manager did.
I love that so much.
You know what I mean? Like you and now it's like, oh, well, it's true. It's not about like not knowing someone. Get to know. Now they know my face.
Yeah.
This sounds so irritating, and it irritates me when people give me simple solutions, but I'm going to irritate everyone. You just have to ask.
Yeah. If you don't ask, you don't get. And it's something we've all heard, but oftentimes
I don't
we're
think
too
people
afraid
deep
to ask.
it enough. No one deeps it enough
Too
that
afraid to ask.
you just have to go. It's the same thing as like people who have just like snuck onto sets or like just showed up at places, and you just end up bumping into the right person. You have to be there.
Yeah.
You know, and I realized that I was always like, I'm waiting for someone to bump into me. Where?
Yeah.
You know, well, I need to be there. So then that's when Camille made, like, I wanted to, but Camille also convinced me. She was like, yeah, go back to the uni, go back to the music uni. And now I'm there, and now I'm in contact with people.
Yeah.
Now I am bumping into people because I've put myself there.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean about getting creative, embodying being a creative, not just in your artwork, but as a human being. Don't just be creative about your art. Be creative about how you live your life. If you're met with a problem, be creative about the solution.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that.
Be a creative through and through, and I think that's the best way to get what you want out of life, honestly, because you're always going to have obstacles, and you need to be. And I love when people say, work smarter, not harder.
Yeah,
because that really is the case. If you really look at people who are stereotypically successful and look at a lot of their backstories, what did they do? How did they get there? It's never really that formulaic. It's they're presented with a problem or an opportunity and they took it. Or they handled it in a unique way. They didn't just follow a set path. And I think a lot of creatives can get stumped when they're things like the wall are in the way of their path. I think a lot of creatives, if you really get down to the bare bones of it, some people are very afraid to actually succeed. They're actually very afraid to achieve their dreams.
Yeah.
That's why people sometimes achieve their dreams, but then imposter syndrome sets in.
Yeah.
And I think people have to be honest with themselves about why are you allowing these barriers to continue? Because we do have enough resources to get rid of them to a certain degree, to at least get rid of some of them.
Yeah.
What is it about success that actually scares you? If you're met with a problem like, well, I don't know anyone, what's stopping you getting to know people?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have access to this. What's stopping you from seeking out other ways to get access to it? Why are you holding yourself back?
Yeah. But I think it's also kind of the unknown. Like you said, with people kind of being afraid of what success would look like. It might look like something that they haven't necessarily, that's unknown, that's uncertain. And I think it is quite interesting that you mentioned that point. I do think that there is an element of fear on both sides and not succeeding, but in succeeding as well. And like you mentioned, I guess there are enough resources, and also going back to the community thing, just being around people that can kind of dispel those kind of doubts and just be like, no, like it goes back to believing you deserve something as well. Like you've worked for this, you deserve it. So no, I think community is super important too.
I think that's a really important point about deservedness, though, is that many people have passions and ambitions and dreams, but don't think that they deserve it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important question to ask yourself. Do you actually think you deserve to live out your dreams? Do you actually think you deserve to pursue this to its full capacity? And if not, why? Again, what's that wall that's standing in your way of allowing yourself to want this and to pursue it?
That's a good point. I don't think people ask themselves that question.
I've never asked.
Yeah, I haven't.
This is like, I'm reflecting on this now, and I'm just like, my mind is just going like,
because it's kind of like what you said earlier. If you don't believe in yourself and your dreams, why should other people?
Yeah.
Art exists because other people engage with it.
Yeah.
You're able to have art or creativity as a career because other people are willing to consume it, engage with it, interact with it. Why should they if you don't even think it's worth interacting with? Like, how do you show up in a room with something to offer, but immediately you're apologizing and being like, but this isn't actually worth it though. So, like, sorry for being here.
This feels very British.
Yeah.
I have so much beef with this.
Yeah,
I could do a whole podcast episode of my wrath. I'm going to be nice about my wrath for British culture. Is that, can I say that? Wrath for British culture? Wrath?
Disdain.
Disdain. Even the English language. I don't like it.
It's very ingrained in British culture to... I mean, we even have tall poppy syndrome is something that it comes from British culture, where somebody gets too big for their boots or the poppy grows too tall, so we cut it down. As soon as artists achieve a certain level of success, that's when the media turns on them, in this country particularly.
Which is why I think we hate Americans.
Because, yes.
Americans do the opposite.
But again, that's something that you can learn from other cultures, other people around you. For example, that's actually advice that my therapist gave me when I was interviewing for jobs. She said, watch interview training videos from American companies. She was like, don't watch the British ones, watch the American ones, because American culture is a lot more comfortable with celebrating your achievements, saying what you're capable of, saying what makes you different and special from other people, and being proud of it. Whereas British culture, or any conservative culture really, is fashioned in a way that encourages you to keep that to yourself, or to think of yourself as special or different or having something to offer is seen as ego. It's seen as something negative rather than just the truth.
Yeah, we're not encouraged to live our lives to the fullest here.
No, not
We're
in the
really
same way. But then at the same time, British culture has done so much for the creative space. It's done so much for art, particularly music. But I guess ironically that has come out of rebellion. That's come out of many movements like punk rock, rock and roll, where people have rebelled against the status quo, rebelled against that conservative, shy, shame bubble that we're kind of all encouraged to go along with. So I think, it's worth examining the context you're from as well, and whether that affects if you believe that you belong in these spaces, and if you don't, think about that, tackle that, because how do you expect to get there if you don't even think that you belong there? You're going to just keep holding yourself back, or you're going to find different excuses to stop yourself from getting there.
Yeah.
Because at the very crux of it, you don't think that you even deserve it.
I think you have to, my mum says, you've got to believe that you deserve to be in the room.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, I think that's totally true. And if you've worked for it, if you've done that, then of course you deserve it.
I would counter that, actually.
Me too.
Because
Really?
even if,
Yeah.
because again, it's the myth of meritocracy, that people who work for things deserve them. I think life is a lot more random than that. You might be in a room and you don't deserve to be there. But
Why not?
But why not? Why not you?
Yeah.
Why not you? Sometimes you're gifted with opportunities or blessings just because.
Yeah.
And I think your grit as a person comes down to what you do with that opportunity that you've been given. I think it's okay to be in spaces that you don't necessarily deserve to be there, because, I mean, to go to the extremes of it, I'm the kind of person that I don't believe anyone does or doesn't deserve anything. I think things just are. And I think that's really helped me in creativity, because when I walk into a room, I feel fine. I don't feel like I deserve to be there less than anyone else. I don't feel like anyone deserves to be there any more than I do, unless it's something, like somebody's saved a child from a burning building. By all means, you deserve to be there and getting platformed and rewarded for that. But when it comes to, for example, creative spaces, I have a very neutral view on people.
Yeah.
I think we all have the same amount of worth. We all have the same amount of dignity. We all deserve respect. And that includes me. And that's part of that self-love journey, is people believe that about other people, but they don't believe that about themselves. And they carry that with them in the spaces that they go into. And it shows. It shows when you don't think you deserve to be somewhere. And again, how are people supposed to invest in you and believe in what you've got to offer if you don't even believe in yourself?
You teach people how to treat you.
You teach people how to treat you. And very much so in the creative space, because it is an industry that is known for being quite exploitative. It's built on a lot of free labor because it gets away with it. And if you're not somebody that has boundaries and is able to advocate for yourself or speak up when you need to, you can end up being crushed. And I think that's really sad when you see people who have done the work to achieve their dreams, but then they've kind of been squashed out by the reality of it, that this is a very, some creative spaces can be very tough and very cutthroat. And again, if you haven't done that personal work and have that inner strength and resilience, as we said before, as a person to survive it and to protect yourself, it can chew you up and spit you out.
Yeah. Thank you for countering me, by the way. No, honestly, because I think your perspective's super interesting, and it's something that I hadn't thought of before, but totally makes
Everyone deserves to be in any room, in my opinion.
Yeah,
that's why
totally makes sense.
Yeah, because I again, why should you have to prove that you should be in a space? Also, what is important people? It's not necessarily important. They're just people who, again, are in a certain field. You also don't know anything about these people, because by what measure are you saying that some people deserve to be in a room? Is it morally? Is it financially? Is it career-wise? You could be put in a room with, I don't know, a bunch of people who, again, because we're on the creative industry, let's say a lot of people who own movie productions, I don't know. They could be really horrible people. And it's maybe they don't deserve to be here because it's they're not appreciative of what they have, and you are. If anything, you might be more deserving, right? And that's why I really agree with Camille that no one is more or less deserving. I think it just depends on what you want from where you go. I think anyone could go anywhere. Yeah.
Because I think that can hold a lot of creative people back as well, is thinking that you don't deserve it when you are given those opportunities. It's actually something that one of your course leaders said. Carol.
Oh, that she said that it rewards the brave.
It was in that conversation. One of Manu's course leaders, Carol, she says she's seen people get to where they want to get to and then completely fumble it because they didn't feel like they deserved it.
Imposter syndrome.
Syndrome. And I thought that was so useful for somebody at her level to say, this is somebody that's been a vocal coach to what people like Michael Jackson,
Chaka Khan.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you can just tell she's a very level-headed woman. So she's seen, she's seen stardom. She's seen people make it. So one of her warnings to us was, just be very careful. Have a good head on your shoulders, because you can get to where you want to get to, but if you feel like you don't deserve it, eventually you're just going to end up fumbling it.
And she also said to us that she's seen people who, in her opinion, don't deserve it. But again, what is her opinion to the person who's there, right? She's seen people who, she said a lot of the industry is full of people who aren't as talented. But it's their tenacity.
And their belief in themselves.
It's belief, it is delusion, it's whatever you want to call it. But she, again, if you walk into a room and say, I'm as important as Beyonce, how can anyone counter that? If you sit there and tell yourself that you're that important and you tell other people you're that important, they have no choice to believe you, right? So I think if you, as long as you think you deserve to be there, no one can argue with you.
Yeah, because I think that's the Beyonce analogy is actually really useful, because
Thank you.
the average person will hear someone say that and be like, well, no, because Beyonce has this, this, and this many accolades, and that's why she deserves it more than you. Fair enough.
In it.
Like, fair enough, that's a useful assessment, but does it benefit you to think that? If you think you're as good as Beyonce and it's going to facilitate you getting to where you want to go, having the belief in yourself to get to where she is, what harm are you doing? I think life is fashioned around humbling us and making sure that we know our place. But for what?
Yeah.
You know, who does it really help?
Beyonce started somewhere.
No, it's true. It's true. Everyone has to start somewhere. So no, I do agree with you. We all deserve it. It's about whether you believe you do.
Yes.
And that's the thing. Do you believe you do? And if you believe in yourself, if you believe you do, then like
You can do anything.
you can do anything. Who can contest it?
Yeah.
My dad always used to say, I remember so distinctly, I came downstairs one day and I said something, I was like, like throwaway comment, like, oh, it is what it is. And he was like, no. and I was like, okay, like, what did I say? He was like, it's not, it is what it is. It is what you make it. And I was like kind of floored by that. And then he went on to basically say, saying it is what it is just like saying you have no agency to change anything.
Fact. Oh, wow. I love that.
Yeah.
So true.
Agency is something way more people need.
But like, if you say it is what you make of it, like, yes, obviously there are always going to be things that are out of your control, but you have things that are in your control. And so what are you going to do with them? Are you going to just let something pass you by, or are you going to use what you do have to try and get that thing? And that's the message that he was trying to convey to me. And then I was like, okay. You're right, cool.
One way that I'd like to actually reframe, not reframe like your experience, as in like, but also like, I guess, word it in a way that's quite palatable. Palatable, is that the word? For other people, is that I think it's also good to embrace what's out of control. You know, because you know how you said that, you know, there are things that are out of control. I think that's a nice thing. It's a good thing. And it goes back to the synchronicities that Camille was talking about, that if you pay attention to everything that's going out of control, there must be a reason it's going out of control. There must be a reason Jessie J keeps coming up for you. Like, you know, like there must be a reason that all of these things are happening. I remember listening to Camille's podcast actually on the tube for the first time.
How the fuck do I love myself? If I hadn't said that before.
Go stream it on all streams.
Do it, really.
This summer. So I was listening to the podcast and I remember it was I think it was the episode about synchronicity. And I don't know, it was a while ago, but I'm pretty sure you said you were like, just look around. Like just look up.
Yeah.
So I looked up. I was sat on I think it was a Northern Line I was sat on. And like you were saying it in my headphones, just look up for a sign. And I was like, I did. And I looked up, and on the window there was a sticker that said, "Don't forget to look up."
Oh my goodness.
You haven't told me this.
Did I not tell you that?
No.
That's so crazy.
And I literally, when I tell you, I was sat there and my jaw was just, it was just dropped.
You could probably see yourself opposite in like the reflection.
Black mirror.
Like I just looked at that sign. I was just like, this is mental. That wasn't in my control.
Yeah, that's very true.
In my control.
No, it's true.
You know, like
sometimes it, like you mentioned, sometimes it is beautiful. And I think as an artist, like just being so observant of your surroundings can be such a huge source of inspiration, because you just don't know what you're going to find.
It's the input.
It is the input.
And it's how you use it. So again, it is what you make it of, the things you're in control of and the things you're out of control of.
I love this.
Yeah, because that's when
I'm so energized by this.
Because that's when I was like, oh my God, okay, I need to continue. Like it's definitely clearly a sign. I definitely need to look at what I have.
Yeah.
Because she said it to me, and then I looked up, and that sticker said it to me. So I was like, all right.
You
Yeah.
will always see more of what you look for and pay attention to. It's like the yellow car thing. If you start thinking about yellow cars, you'll start seeing them more. If you start thinking about the color purple, you'll start seeing it more.
Yeah.
It's not that the thing suddenly appeared before you out of nowhere. It was always there.
Yeah.
You just weren't attuned to it
Yeah.
in the
It's so
same
true.
way.
Yeah.
So if you start thinking about getting more opportunities, you start thinking there's more things out there, you'll start seeing them because you're open to it.
Mm.
And I think that's when people are, talk about like being on certain wavelengths and things like that. Obviously, it gets a bit,
very cool.
it gets a bit out there. But life is there for you to observe if you're paying attention.
Mm.
If you just pay attention, you'll see more of what you want and need to see. And I think people complain about not getting opportunities or not getting signs or guidance. Are you looking for it?
Yeah.
Are you looking for
I
it?
think it's like, so there's a quote, I mean, there's a verse in the Bible, ask and you will receive.
Oh, Camille always
Seek-
says that to me.
Seek and you will find,
Seek
knock
and
on
you'll
the door will be opened for you. But I think it's really interesting because I read it the other day and I think it says, for everyone who asks, receives. The one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks, the door will be opened. And I thought it's interesting that it says everyone who asks receives, but the one who seeks finds, the one who knocks, the door will be opened. And it also doesn't say everyone who asks receives what they ask for.
Yeah, they just receive an answer.
You receive an answer. So if you're if you ask for something and you're expecting to receive what you've asked for in the form that you've asked for it, you might actually miss the answer that you're given.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And I just think, having that realization it does go back to that openness. Like, all that we know is, well, the questions we have, for example, might be in the confines of what we know is possible to have. But there's so much outside of that.
Yep.
And if you're not open to kind of receiving a sign or a signal or something that might direct you towards that unknown thing that might actually be the answer that you're seeking, even if it's not what you asked for, or something that might be a stepping stone to get you towards something else, then you're stunted in that place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then the next thing is, will you act on what you receive?
Yeah.
exactly.
Because not everyone does.
It's like Camille just said with my lecturer who said that people have reached their dreams and then they fumble it because they don't hold it properly,
Yeah, or they weren't ready for it.
They weren't ready.
I think
Yeah.
we're so resistant to being prepared for things. We want things and we want them now. And when we don't get them, we throw a tantrum or we get upset. But if we actually got everything that we wanted, could we hold it? Probably not a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think about that.
And I think sometimes, my own journey with religion and things like that, I remember being told, sometimes you pray for something and you think it wasn't answered or you didn't receive it. But you might be receiving it in the form of preparation for it.
Yeah.
We think of asking or praying for things as like asking a genie and you rub a lamp and you immediately get what you asked for. But if you think to be spiritual for a second, if you are religious and you have a concept of God in your life, if you think of God as a parent, as Christians, we think of God as a father. If you think of him as a father and you ask for something, what does a good parent do? Make sure that you can handle it. They prepare you. They, for example, teach you how to ride a bike with training wheels before they teach you how to ride a bike properly. It's not because they don't want you to have the bike. It's because when you get the bike, they don't want you to fall off it. So they give you the training wheels
It's
first.
so true. And it's like, if you ask for strength, what builds strength?
Training.
Adversity.
Adversity.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then out of it, you get strength, you get resilience. And yeah, so like you said, training and whatever the thing that you are, I agree. I think the preparation is so important for you to be able to hold that thing in the end.
I think the training is more important because the training prepares you to be able to sustain it.
Yes.
And that's the most
it
important
won't be
part.
necessarily fleeting.
You can sustain it. And I think people want what they want and don't really think about, but how do you maintain it? For example, you know, if you suddenly get a lot of money and you buy a very expensive house, but you don't think about the grounds maintenance cost. How much is electricity going to be on a 12-bedroom house? Do you actually have what it takes to maintain the thing that you've asked for?
Mm.
And it's a lot more beneficial for you to take the time to build up that strength, build up that resilience, build up that capacity to maintain the thing that you want, so that you get to keep it.
Mm.
It's not a bad thing. It's a, you know, it's an unsexy word, preparation, training, wow. But it means you get to keep the thing that you want. And I think that's far more valuable.
Also, like, build the skills. Like, if you look at athletes,
Mm.
they, like, or sprinters, for 10 seconds or under at the Olympics, that is what they have to show for all of the training that they do.
That's
Throughout
so
the
true.
entire
Throughout the
year,
entire
yeah.
like
For 10
4 years,
seconds, man.
for like 10 seconds. And that's when, like, yeah, all of that training pays off for that sort of thing. But without those 4 years of training before, they were not going to be able to even compete with the fastest people.
Exactly.
So no, it's true. I think it goes for anything in life, whether it's sport or creativity, or there's always an element of you have to be committed to honing your craft. We're going to have to wrap up here, guys. I'm really sorry. I'm really enjoying this conversation. Thank you so much for... Time really ran away, didn't it?
It's okay.
Thank you so much for joining me here on this podcast. And this conversation's been so insightful. I really appreciate, just having you both here and sharing this space with you. So thank you so much for joining.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And to all the listeners, I hope you have a fantastic day, and sending love and light to you all. Bye.